Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Battle Cry with me, Shiv Arur. This is the only show on television that gets you up close with India's warriors, India's weapons and how India fights. Now, while India's soldiers have been facing a real enemy on the border, India today has set the news agenda this week by talking about another enemy that very few knew was actually killing troops even in peacetime. What if we told you that defective, poor quality ammunition that's been given to our soldiers has killed as many as 27 soldiers in the last 6 years and wounded over 150. You'd be shocked, wouldn't you? Well, those are not our figures. Those are figures that the Indian Army has put into a report and uncovered for the first time on India Today.
"27 soldiers dead. 159 injured for life. Killed not by the enemy, but their very own ammunition. The Indian Army's most shocking truth. Faulty ammunition proving lethal. Army now says enough is enough. From bullets to tank rounds to artillery shells. Exploding ammunition is killing our soldiers. The big India Today news break is our top focus on Battle Cry.
For one of the world's largest and most professional armies, it is shocking that every single week, you probably didn't know, there is at least one ammunition-related accident that either kills a soldier or injures them for life. Severed limbs, that sort of thing, permanently. Can you imagine? That's been happening in the Indian Army and few even really knew about it. Well, the Indian Army has had enough and they want change and they want it now. This is an India Today exclusive.
20 army men who gave their lives fighting a treacherous Chinese army in Ladakh's Galwan Valley in June. They died defending Indian territory in some of the most horrifying close combat. 20 men who will never be forgotten. But what if we told you that a large number of army troops have steadily perished over the years, and not while fighting the enemy? What if we told you that in the last 6 years, a shocking 27 troops have died from freak explosions of faulty ammunition and shells?
Number 4, fire!
You heard that right. Since 2014, poor quality ammunition has killed 27 troops. The disturbing number is from a brand new internal Indian Army report accessed and revealed by India Today this week. A story that has set the agenda in military circles and caused shock across the country. The report is a damning dossier on the quality of ammunition produced by India's government-owned Ordnance Factory Board or OFB. A network of factories that produce everything from artillery shells to anti-aircraft ammunition, to tank rounds, to the smallest bullets used in infantry rifles. Apart from the disturbing death data, the report has several shocking highlights. There have been 403 accidents related to faulty ammunition since 2014. In other words, an accident every single week for 6 years. 159 troops have been seriously injured since 2014 in these accidents, with 13 accidents so far in 2020. And finally, the Army report says that funds spent on this dangerously faulty ammunition supplied by the Ordnance Factory Board over the last 6 years amounts to a staggering 960 crore rupees. Enough to purchase 100 medium artillery guns. A truly shocking illustration of the toll in human life and public money. While the Army report had caused eruptions within the defense establishment, India Today's newsbreak has triggered a wave of shock and outrage over how the lives of troops have been endangered by poor quality ammunition. With India's forces massed on the border in a warlike situation that will almost definitely stretch into the foreseeable future, the Army hopes the glaring numbers in its report will force a solution to its decades-old problem with ammunition quality. But will accountability be fixed? And will those who've allowed this to happen pay the price? Or will the blood of soldiers prove once again to be an acceptable expense to an indifferent system? With Shiv Arur, Bureau Report, India Today.
The maker of this defective ammunition, according to the Indian Army report, is the Ordnance Factory Board. They're the ones who've been named by the Indian Army in their report. It's a government-owned organization, huge number of factories spread all across the country, 80,000 workforce. They supply ammunition, shells, tanks, weaponry of all kinds to the Indian Army, one of the biggest suppliers to the Indian Army. And now the Indian MOD wants to corporatize and modernize the OFB, but there has been a huge pushback, and the Ordnance Factory Board's unions have threatened to go on strike later this month. So things have come to a head between the Indian Army on the one side and its principal supplier of ammunition, the Ordnance Factory Board, on the other. But how is this going to get resolved? Here on Battle Cry, we're very happy to be joined by former Ordnance Factory Board Chairman Hari Mohan, who was chairman until only a few weeks ago. We also have with us Lieutenant General PJS Pannu, who's a former Corps Commander of the Ladakh Corps as well as Director General of the Infantry. Gentlemen, thank you for being with me and sparing your valuable time. Mr. Hari Mohan, I'd like to come to you first because the topic at hand is this Army report which points a finger at the Ordnance Factory Board and says that as many as 403 accidents have taken place, one every week, owing to poor quality Ordnance Factory Board ammunition, that 27 soldiers have been killed over the last 6 years, 159 have been injured. These are some very damning figures, sir. My first question to you is your appreciation and your response, your reading of this report that the Army has come out with.
Yeah, let me share with you. This report has come in the
in the media very recently, and Ordnance Factory Board has already issued a statement in this regard on 30th of September.
Yes.
Whatever accidents, what is being talked about, the Ordnance Factory Board has very clearly said that only 19% of these accidents are there where Ordnance Factory Board supplied ammunition is involved. Among the 81% of the accidents, ammunition supplied by it was other than Ordnance Factory Board. This is the first figure which I can share with you.
Okay, okay. General Pannu, if I could bring you in, the counter that's been provided. Okay, I want to stay with some specifics, then we'll get to the broader issues, because the specific figures that have been put out by the army are quite alarming. The Ordnance Factory Board has turned around and said that the army pretty much is exaggerating these figures. Is the army exaggerating them?
Shiv Arur, thank you very much for getting me here on the program. Well, you know, some data has been put out in the news media, and I'm not really privy to the official data anywhere.
Yes.
But with my experience, I know that there have been accidents. In fact, not only the Indian Army, I think all the three services, defense forces have been complaining for long about the quality of ammunition and also arms being produced by the Ordnance Factory, and therefore data can be anything. But the fact is that, yes, there have been accidents and the life of soldiers have been lost. That is all what I can say.
Mr. Hari Mohan, you know, the statement that the Ordnance Factory Board has put out in response to the Army report, and let me make it very clear, this is not a media report, sir. This is an Indian Army document that has been reported in the media. So these are Indian Army figures. They have not been created by the media. It's the Indian Army. Let me say that once again. Mr. Hari Mohan, the Ordnance Factory Board appears to be accusing the Army of, you know, exaggerating the issue, putting out wrong data, saying that the Army itself has faulty, you know, maintenance protocols and is trying to blame the Ordnance Factory. Is that what this is about? The Army versus the Ordnance Factory Board?
See, let us not make it like that it is between Army versus Ordnance Factory Board. See, ammunition manufacturing and then ammunition use, it's all together is a scientific process. When we manufacture ammunition, there is all set quality conditions. At every stage, when a component is manufactured, it is passing through a quality stringent parameters. Every explosive we make, it is proof tested. Every component which goes into ammunition is proof tested. And once the ammunition is made as a finished product, and again that is ammunition is proof tested. After the ammunition is being issued to Indian Army, the ammunition has to be stocked as per the specified storage conditions. Thereafter, the ammunition has to be used as per the given protocols. The weapons are also to be maintained. I would mention to you, see, this tussle was always there between various stakeholders of Ministry of Defence. Ordnance Factory Board will say something, manufacturer will say something, user will say something, DGQ will say something. Now, just to address this issue, way back around 7-8 years back, the MOD, we took a decision that whatever ammunition is freshly getting manufactured, we would test that ammunition in the field.
Okay.
The ammunition freshly being supplied to Army, once received by Army, stocked by Army, one box is picked up randomly and it is fired. So it is fired after 3 months or within 6 months of its manufacture. And I will again share the data with you. The whatever firing has been done in last 7-8 years, 99% of the ammunition has been found successful during the field firing in the Army. So see, this was only, and first of all, ammunition and weapon combination, its manufacturing, its use, weapon maintenance, ammunition storage.
Mr. Harimohan, let me
everything
take
has
that
to be
question.
seen in
Let me
totality.
take that point you raised to General Pannu. General Pannu, then help us explain these figures, because, you know, this is an Indian Army report that has gone to the Ministry of Defence. This is serious business. This is not someone's conjecture. It's gone from the highest levels of the Indian Army, where they have very, very specifically written, and since you are not privy to the report, I'm telling you, sir, that it says this is owing to the lack of accountability within the Ordnance Factory Board. But as you heard Mr. Harimohan say, that there are procedures in place and that it is not just the Ordnance Factory Board that is to blame. How would you respond to that, General Pannu?
Shiv, I would avoid this kind of a discussion, but let me also talk about the Army. I think Army is very well aware of its own procedures. I think right from the day one, you know, when you get commissioned, you find that all that you're doing is procedures and procedures and procedures and so much of discipline. Every time there is a mistake made, there is a heavy punishment onto it. Nobody can really put out a data which can be manufactured. You know, it's not anybody's figment of imagination that data can be manufactured in the Army. Army has very responsible system through which any data would be put out. If this data has been officially put out by the Indian Army, I suppose I would trust the reports because they are done by very, very responsible officers who have grown into the hierarchy with experiences. When I talk about my own experiences, I know how much of ammunition gets segregated. The moment ammunition gets segregated, you know, we have registers, we report, and the entire lot has to be segregated because there'll be more accidents. And to avoid those accidents, in fact, if you don't segregate that kind of ammunition, there would be more accidents. So I would, if there is an official report by the Army, I would completely stand by the report of the Army, purely knowing how the procedures and the documentation in the Army are maintained.
Absolutely. I have time for one last question to both you gentlemen, and I don't intend to make this a tutu meme or a face-off between both sides, because ultimately we are all on the same team here in India, unlike in many other countries, and a solution needs to be found out. Mr. Harimohan, there is a lot of bad blood. There appears to be a lot of disappointment between the two. You know, some aggressive things have been said in public as well. What is the solution? Give me two ideas going forward, sir. You've been the chairman of how this situation can be resolved.
Sir, let me share with you, first of all, whatever General has said, I fully agree with it. Army has a very elaborate systems, and those systems have been, they have passed through the test of the time. Whenever any accident happens, there is a multidisciplinary team which goes into all the details. It examines the weapon, it examines the drill followed.
But sir, it is after those procedures that these figures have been released by the Army.
See, Army has released the figures of number of accidents, number of fatalities, but what has been the cause of accident, that comes out of defect investigation. If we look at the data from 2015 till say 2019, there are 500 and odd accidents involving ammunition, and all have been investigated. All have been investigated. A large chunk up to whatever cases pertaining to 2019, they have been investigated. And when I am sharing you that 19% cases the OFB ammunition was involved, 81% cases OFB ammunition was not involved.
It appears to me that there isn't going to be any forward movement as far as these figures are concerned. General Pannu, you've said you stand completely by the report. So I want to end on a constructive note, if that's possible at all, in this atmosphere, since we are on the same team. General Pannu, what would you say are the two things either the Army or the OFB can do to move past this impasse, this stalemate, as far as defective ammunition is concerned?
Shiv, the point is that this is a larger issue.
Yeah.
The Ordnance Factory, the way it works, is a legacy of the British. It was basically run by the government itself. It continues to be run by the government itself. There have been many committees which have been recommending the transformation. In fact, the other day when we were listening to the Prime Minister, he himself talked about, transformation, in which he said transform, reform, and perform.
Yes.
Those are the kind of things when you see the warfare, the paradigm shift which is taking place in the way the warfare is happening, from where we fought in the third generation, we had analogous systems. The Ordnance Factory has been producing low-end technology because that is how the British designed it.
Right.
They continue to work in the same system, and they have been producing equipment which is meant for third generation warfare. The paradigm shift has happened in technology. Warfare is a very, very expensive, game. The concepts have undergone a change. The technology has undergone a change. And therefore, this rapidity of change has to be absorbed by our own systems. And you cannot have systems which are very rigid, which
Absolutely.
unfortunately the OFB is. Very high cost. That equipment is given not in time, as also it is, the kind of requirement which the Indian Army has, which is on fast operations, technology-based operations.
Okay.
The current systems are not meeting the requirement, and the number of committees, right from TK Nair Committee of 2000, Vijay Khelkar Committee, Raman Puri Committee of 2015, Shekhar Committee of 2000, Shekhatkar Committee of 2016, as of late in May.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, General Pannu. I understand what you're conveying as well, that this is...
All these are talking about the redundancy of the system, which we have to change.
See, first of all, I think I do not know how many factories General has visited. We maintain state-of-art plant and machinery. We
Yes, sir.
are keeping pace with time. We are using CNC machines, NC machines, automation, and our quality systems are very, very stringent. You know, the problem of accident is not managerial. Problem of accident is scientific. And if you examine from scientific point of view, any manufacturing process in ordnance factories, there are elaborate systems. We fully follow the TOT given by the manufacturer or the scientific method which has been developed by us. And if there is any scientific suggestion coming from any corner, either from DRDO or from Army, we are always fully willing to follow it.
Okay.
And whatever, you see, that legacy, what you are saying, third generation, I don't agree. Whatever land systems the Army using, all that ammunition is being manufactured by us, and that is the latest ammunition which the Army is using. It is given by Ordnance Factory Board. 125 ammunition, 120 mm ammunition, 105 ammunition. The ammunition which is land forces are using, whether it is Army or Ministry of Home Affairs, all our central police forces, most of the ammunition is being supplied by ordnance factories. Let me also share one data with you. The quantum of ammunition which we have supplied, and if you compare the number of ammunition involved in accidents, it will be 1 in 1 lakh. It is less than 0.001%. So please analyze the data scientifically. Please go by the defect investigation reports. We cannot go by perceptions. I have not shared any perception with you. I have shared the data which has come out of defect investigation, and defect investigation is done by multidisciplinary team where Army representative is there, DGQ representative is there, DRDO representative is there, and OFB representative is there. And everything is logically recorded in the defect investigation. If the ammunition is responsible, ammunition is blamed. If weapon is responsible, weapon is blamed. If the drill is responsible, or weapon maintenance is responsible, or storage is responsible, or it is an outlived ammunition. So this is all variety of causes are there. We as a country, we have to develop technically and find our, wherever there is a gap, that gap is to be bridged, and Ordnance Factory Board and Ordnance Factories are always willing to change. We are a forward-looking organization, and we have been changing.
Okay, sir.
The number of CNC machine which is being employed by the Ordnance Factories, I don't think any other organization will be having. And we keep on updating our plant and machinery. We put more than 500 to 600 crore every year in modernization.
Okay, sir. Okay. As the country faces a lot of threats, this is a basic thing that needs to be resolved. Transformation is the order of the day, and both organizations perhaps, and especially the Ordnance Factory Board, has to know that it has to keep up with the times. There is a big process on right now to modernize and to impose accountability as well. We cannot compromise on the supply lines of ammunition. We've uncovered the story, and we will keep track of this transformation going forward. Mr. Hari Mohan, General PJS Pannu, thank you very much for joining me here on Battle. Remember the old Air India One, the Boeing 747 that usually transport the Prime Minister or the President when they travel abroad on official work? Well, that aircraft's time is up because the new replacement is here. That's right. The new Air India One, which soon becomes Air Force One, landed in Delhi this week, and it's a much more advanced VVIP transport aircraft. Take a look.
Say hello to the brand new ride of India's top leadership. The first two Air India One jets, which will fly the Prime Minister, President and Vice President, has just landed. The new jet will have an ultra-long-range Boeing 777 and will replace duties performed by erstwhile Air India One, a Boeing 747 jumbo jet. The new jet is leagues ahead of the aircraft it replaces in virtually every way. For starters, unlike in the past when both Indian Air Force and Air India would fly the country's leadership, this time it will be only the Air Force. The old Air India One used to be deployed for commercial flights when not in VVIP use, whereas the new Air India One will be solely used to transport the Prime Minister, President and Vice President. The older Air India One had some self-protection equipment, but no integrated missile defense system, unlike the new one, which has the large aircraft, infrared countermeasures and self-protection suites. Unlike the old Air India One, which has basically a commercial jet modified with some VVIP facilities, the new Air India One is purpose-built for VVIP travel, including dedicated high-tech conference facilities, seating for dignitaries, and designed to literally be flying a PMO. The new jet will be joined by a second one in a few months, and will be a home in the skies for India's leadership. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, that's it then on Battle Cry. See you the next time. And as we always say here on Battle Cry, India's true strength will only be achieved when no human needs to be sent into battle and no weapon fired. Thanks for watching.